Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con again, to our second part for today. And I'm here with Khalil Elsherif, and he want to talk about business application for SMEs. Hello, Khalil. You could start.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. Good day, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the M365 Con team for this opportunity. My name is Khalil Elsherif, and today I'll be talking about the business applications for SMEs. Actually, my background is an operation background and operational excellence. I have about 18 years in operations and operations excellence. This is my experience. So this is why this topic is very close to my heart because I'm coming from the business side, not the technical and IT side. So I know that Microsoft Power Platform can be a real game changer for the SMEs. I know how the challenges are there in the SMEs and how it's repeated on daily basis again and again. Because SMEs, I believe they are always stuck between two extremes. In one hand, enterprise systems that are really powerful but expensive, complex, and slow to implement. So this is in one hand, and on the other hand, we have Excel, Microsoft Excel, which is much more flexible, much more familiar, but it's risky, unscalable, and it's hard to govern. You can't put the best governance in Microsoft Excel, and we all know these challenges. So here comes the big questions. Is there a middle ground between the ERPs and the Excel? So this is exactly where Power Platform comes in. Let me take you to the agenda. It's very simple agenda. Our agenda for today is very simple. First thing we will speak about the real SME problem, then why Power Platform fits SMEs perfectly. Then we will take some real SME use cases, and we will end with where to start as an SME. So let's start with the real SME problem. Let's talk honestly about SMEs. So most SMEs they don't have large IT departments, and we know that very well. So that SMEs they don't have large IT department, and they don't need to have large IT departments. They need fast results. They operate with limited budgets. So it's a mix of things that doesn't allow them to buy large or core systems or enterprise systems or ERPs, as we say. So they have to depend heavily on business users, not developers. But yet they still need process control. They still need data visibility. They still need automation. They still need compliance. They still need scalability. They still need all what other and large companies and large enterprises do need. So what usually happens in this case that that SMEs they are between these two options that we are talking about. The first option is the Excel, which becomes for them like the system. Excel becomes the system, and one file turns into 10 and tens of files. One owner turns into many owners. Versions are flying around, many versions. As we all say, last version and last version and last version 1 and last version 2, last version v1, and lots of versions. And actually the logic behind the formulas and equations in the Excel sheets, they are becoming very complicated, and no one can understand unless it's the initial creator of the formulas. But after a while, it becomes a legacy, and formulas are being misunderstood. And suddenly, and consequently, errors happened. Data integrity is almost lost. Decisions are based on unreliable numbers. So the SME find themselves a bit lost between the data and the versions of Excel sheets and the lost sheets here and there. At the same time, buying, which is the second option for the SMEs, buying a full ERP or core system is not feasible. It requires high licensing costs. It takes very long time to implement. The implementation process is very long. Change management for SMEs is not that easy like in large corporates. So SMEs, they either delay transformation or do nothing. Yeah, so they have no option. And this is where Power Platform comes, and this is where Power Platform shines, because Power Platform is not about replacing ERPs. We know that ERPs is in a different position. However, Power Platform can bridge the gap between the Excel and the ERPs or ERP systems. So let's break it down very simply, starting with Power Apps. So Power Apps is a very, very powerful tool uh, that can build business application without heavy coding. We call it no code, low code, no code application. So we don't have to create uh, uh, um, uh, complex codes and complex applications. It's very simple and easy drag and drop options in Power Apps. It can be easily replacing Excel-based processes. It can create structured forms and approvals and track accessible and it's actually very accessible in both web and mobile. So Power Apps is very powerful when it comes of thinking of replacing one Excel sheet. One Excel sheet, it means for me one process, one complicated process or one manual process that we need to change how we deal with this process. We need to transform. We don't have enough budget to transform our process with big systems. I think Power Apps is a very, very good alternative in that case. Second, Power Automate. Power Automate, it's the second powerful tool that can automate repetitive work. So we do the same thing and again and again, and we do some reworks and lots of reworks in our daily business. We need to think again about these reworks. We need to automate them, and Power Automate is a very actually powerful tool to do so. It can automate approvals, notifications, integrations. It has like hundreds of connectors that can connect with lots of Microsoft and non-Microsoft even platforms. Um, so it's very powerful. and it's secured. It's under the umbrella of Microsoft. It's under the ecosystem of Microsoft. It can easily reduce manual works. It can easily reduce manual errors by uh, uh, I mean, it's consequent. So if you reduced manual work, you will reduce definitely and by default the manual errors. So it will save time for business users. And actually, Power Platform is very important because it's a time saver. I would say. So you will find in Power Platform that it calculates, and sorry, in Power Automate, that it calculates even the time was saved during each flow and each automation that was created in the Power Automate. So it was built on this. It was built for time saving, which means budget saving. So if you save time, you will save money because time is money. So Power Automate is a very, very important pillar in the Power Platform. Then we go to Power BI. So Power BI, it's very well known in the like the data analysis world, and it's I believe it's the most well-known application within the Power Platform, uh, or now with Fabric, but it's very well-known application, and everyone knows the importance of Power BI and how it turns raw data into insights, how it shows real-time dashboards, and it gives very important visibility to the management, and this leads by default to a better decision making. So Power BI is very well known. It's very important, and it completes the platform. The last one is the database. I would say either in Dataverse, if it's Dataverse or it's SharePoint lists. Dataverse is in a higher license in 365 or in Power Platform. However, SharePoint lists is still good, and it's available for most of the license packages in 365. So it's a good alternative, but the best is or the best still Dataverse. The difference between Dataverse and SharePoint list, I believe, it will be discussed, or it has been already discussed during the conference, other sessions in the conference. So it's not our topic today to know the difference between Dataverse and SharePoint list. However, Dataverse is more secured, structured, scalable, and it allows good governance. SharePoint list still a good option if you have low budget. So, however, in both cases, in two cases, you have a very structured and well-structured database that you can rely on, and it's definitely better than Microsoft Excel. The concept of all what we said, that these tools, many organizations, they already own the tools, but they don't use it. It's misused, it's underutilized. So it's under my hands. However, I'm not using them. I'm searching for outside solutions, for customized solutions, for paid solutions maybe. However, I'm already paying for these tools. It's part of Microsoft 365. So it's about awareness. It's about knowledge. I can say that very confidently in our Arab world that Microsoft Power Platform is underutilized, is extremely underutilized in the organizations, and mainly in the SMEs and also the large corporates. I know personally large corporates that they pay for even the premium capacity, and they don't know even how to use Dataverse. So it's the tool and how to utilize these tools. And the concept is that it's within Microsoft, and it's one platform. They are all talking to each other. They are all integrated within each others, and easily integrated without any efforts. It's just a connector, and here we go. So these apps are very important, and this is why I'm shedding some light on them, and the importance to utilize them. And I know that there are many sessions explains how to use them. I'm just trying to raise the awareness of the importance of using these powerful power platform. So let's talk about the some of real SME use cases. And actually, the use cases are very ve- there are lots of use cases. They are very diversified. They are covering lots of areas. I have many hundreds of use cases. I would take these four use cases to speak about them. The first example is about operations tracking. So I'm tracking my operations within an Excel sheet. This a simple Power App can replace the Excel file, and immediately after replacing this Excel file in hours, you will have that each action has its own owner and its timestamp. Management should see the life status of each operations task or whatever it was built on. So everything, the status is live. Everyone can know the status, and it can facilitate the daily operations for an operations team. So this is a very simple use case. Another use case is about approvals. We all know that we waste lots of time and waiting time, which is also a waste, to get some approvals. We might get the approvals through emails. We might get the approvals sometimes in some cases that I already lived. They get the approvals through WhatsApp and so on, which is not. We all know that it's the best scenario. So creating an approval cycle or approval flow in Power Automate, it's a game changer. While it's very simple. It's about three to five steps in Power Automate. 3 to 5 steps that they will change the approval cycle in your company or in your entity. So it automates the approval flow. It tracks very well the SLA, and it allows the escalation, because you know that Power Platform is within the ecosystem of Microsoft, and it's linked to the Active Directory. So whenever you choose an approver, you get his name, his email, his department, his manager, his subordinates. All of this is already captured in in the platform itself. So once you select an approver, you can also apply an escalation cycle if needed. So the approval cycle is very good use case in the for the SMEs. The third use case is HR. HR, especially in the specialized entities that are not focusing on HR, they are lazy to get HR systems. So Power Platform comes here with very good solutions. I have many use cases in the HR, for example, HR requests, employee requests, onboarding full cycle, offboarding full cycle. The full cycle can be done in Power Apps and many more, including the approvals, the leaves, managing the leaves and holidays. All of this is very good use cases in Power Platform for the SMEs. And last use case is the project tracker. I would say project tracker, tasks tracker, and it's the day-to-day business tracker. Everything that can be customized to what you need and what your team needs and what your team really needs. So just a project tracker that can track the projects. You can add milestones, you can add subtasks, you can create approval cycle. Project tracker is a very good use case. There are lots of use cases that can be thinking of when it comes to what can Power Platform benefit the SMEs in finance, in HR, in operations, in sales. Sales have a very good use cases to track the leads and the closed leads and the status with the follow-ups, and everything can be done in Power Platform, and it has very good use cases, can be very useful and extremely useful to SMEs. And all of that doesn't necessarily require, or it doesn't require custom development. It doesn't require heavy infrastructure. You already have your SharePoint site, and the infrastructure is on the cloud, and it's taken on the back of Microsoft 365. You don't need very long delivery cycles with complicated milestones and so on. You can have your own Power App in one day. It's very simple. And this takes us to the next step, which is where to start as an SME. So if you are an SME and wondering where to start, here is a very simple roadmap. The roadmap is very simple. First thing, start with one painful process. Don't complicate things. Start with one painful process. Then replace the Excel sheet that you are using in this process with a very simple Power App. The third step is to automate the approvals using Power Automate. The fourth step is to visualize data using Power BI. And then scale gradually. So this is a continuous improvement cycle. Start with a very simple process, then replicate in a similar process and scale gradually until you have a real transformation. And this can take you to a real transformation in your organization or small company maybe. So it's very simple. Don't aim for perfection. You don't need perfection at the beginning. Aim for progress. All what you need is progress. All what you need is that I'm moving on the way. I'm not standing still in the same place. So Power Platform, I would say, it allows SMEs to start small, learn fast, and scale safely. So this is the mix that you want to think of. So again, if I want to wrap up our session, I would say that SMEs don't need heavy systems on day one. From day one, you don't need heavy systems. Excel alone is no longer a solution, and it's no longer enough. Excel one day it was a great solution for all of us, but nowadays it's no longer a solution. It's no longer enough. You have very powerful tools that you need to start using. Power Platform offers the perfect balance. It offers the perfect balance between an ERP system, complicated and a large ERP system, and an Excel sheet, a manual Excel sheet that has no governance, that has no controls at all. So business users are now part of the solution. And this is where Power Platform gives them the power to create business applications, to create their own solutions. And I'm coming from there. I'm coming from the business side, and I created tens of applications to facilitate many processes for my companies and as a consultant for other companies. It's very smart solution. It's very fast. In 2 3 days, you can create very good solution, which takes a normal for the complicated applications. It takes hell of time and maybe months. So this is where we need to think. This is where we need to put our efforts, because I know that SMEs they only focus on sales, on top line. They want to get top line, and this is the only focus. So for the business users in the SMEs mainly, and actually in everywhere, and the even the large corporates, sometimes I hear some feedback from business users that we returned back to IT and they told us that you are not our priority. For HR, for example, you're not our priority, and we can't give you any solution right now. Uh, just stay in the pipeline, and we will get back to you. So this is where business users need to think differently. This is where business users can find their own tools that they can use on their own to make difference, to change their process, to improve their process, and to transform. After all, this is a very good solution that I believe or I was trying to deliver a very clear vision about it and about its importance for the SME. Thank you for your time. I hope this session gave you a clear and practical view of how Microsoft Power Platform can empower SME. I'll be looking forward to your questions and discussions, if any is. Check the
So I think we have no questions, but I have some questions regarding to your experience. What do you think are the best starting scenarios, or what? What are the best starting scenarios for an SME company?
Yeah, actually, the starting scenario is, as you know, just take a very simple process and try to apply what we said. Try to change the process from its manual work that is the legacy work that everyone says that we used to do it like this and we don't want to change it. So start with changing a very simple process. Once you change this process, you will see yourself that a big change has happened, and you will have the you will have it from inside to change other processes. You will like it. You will know how it's very impactful to the system and to the team. So just start small and scale on the go.
Yeah. So and so I'm from I'm a German guy. So and I know the there are a lot of people in the world who say so we have done this in the past, like as we have just done, and we do it in the future too. So how you can handle persons here? So this is an interesting question, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's a change management process. It's the normal of people to say no. We're comfort with this process. We don't want to change. The business is running and everything is going good. And I have an example that I always give to my trainees in any training regarding the change management is the organ transplant. When we have organ transplant, the body at the first it rejects it. At the first time, it rejects the new organ. By time, it adapts with this new organ that came newly to the body, and eventually, it can't live without it. So it's a change management. It's the change that we need to handle, not the application itself. So we need to know how people think about change, and we need to understand that it's very normal that people reject the change at first, and we need just to keep going until it's done.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
uh, if I take a look to the past, so I was, 10 years ago, I would say I was a SharePoint consultant. And it was really hard for me to sell SharePoint. Why? A lot of customer didn't understand it. And when comes Teams, and with Teams, all of my customers said, when I can get it?
Yeah.
Because
Yes. Yes.
if you have something that you can easy sell, like Teams, it's easier to sell for a customer. And I think this is here nearly the same for Power App. For example,
Yes.
if you build amazing, for example, Canvas app or amazing model-driven app with custom pages or generative pages and so on, I think the usability and the easiness make it. Yeah, I think this
Yes.
is a part where I say if it's easy to understand, you have a customer. And if you say, oh, and before I need 2 hours to do this, and now I need only 5 minutes. Perfect.
Exactly.
So I can do my critical stuff, and yeah. So this is another adoption part where I think this is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's about the need. So once the solutions hit the need of the customer, it flies. So as you said, once they found a need in Teams, they said, "Where is it for me? I want it right now." So it's about the need. It's just matching your solution with the need. So I totally agree with what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this was really interesting because this was not so technical deep dive, because so we have a lot of technical stuff, but this is I think a main topic for every consultant, because you could be the best one in your technology, but so if the customer don't want to adopt it, or I would say the colleagues of a customer or someone in the company won't adopt it. I think this is a main topic and a
Yeah.
main pain what what you have as a consultant for a company. Really great. So I think
Yes.
it was one of it could be one of the most important sessions for today, because this helps a lot of
Thank you.
all of our consultants here, or he joined today, because this is the main topic. Not he could. That means, in a sentence,
Yeah.
you could be the best. You could not be the best consultant if you know your customer with the needs,
Yes.
with
Very well.
processes. This was the same what I said today as I started. you need not an AI center of excellence as a tool. You need structures, and you need policies, you need compliance and governance, and when you can roll it. And this is nearly the same here in this topic. So if you want a successful project, you need to understand the customer, and you found out how you can handle the stakeholders to be successful. Really, really important.
Totally.
Really, really important. Really cool presentation. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcel.
Yeah, I think we see us again.
Yeah,
and
hopefully very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. And our next session is, I think Mirko has shown this. Is Akshansh Sharma with unlocking innovation with generative pages. We saw an, I would say, only a short session regarding to this today from Arpit, but he will make a deep dive on this. So we see us back in 23 minutes. And see you when. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
So, hello and welcome back to the M365 Con. Today here is, I hope I've spelled it right, Akshansh Sharma, founder of the BPUG. And yeah, the topic today is unlocking innovation with generative pages. Warm welcome to you.
Great. Thank you, Marcel. And yeah, you pronounced it right somewhat. And I know my name is a mouthful, so I don't blame you. All right.
Okay.
Hi,
Have fun.
everyone. Thank you. Hi, everyone. As Marcel mentioned, right, I'm Akshansh Sharma. And today we'll be talking about generative pages. And so basically how AI is now taking over and the new gen of Power Apps and Power Platform, basically. So let's get started. Let me quickly share my screen. Hope you can see my screen now. All right, perfect.
Yes, we see your screen.
Thank you, Miko. Yeah. Right. So yes, so today, as I said, we'll be talking about how AI is basically creating a new gen of Power Platform space and how we have different ways of developing the same things which we used to develop in a very different way, probably a couple of years ago. And it's a fast-paced environment and changes we are seeing. So yeah, we'll be talking about how we can unlock innovation and how we can take just a single simple thought which popped up in our head, having a shower or having your breakfast, and suddenly you realize that, okay, my organization can have this application. And that simple thought can be converted into an application very quickly now. And that's what we will be seeing today, how AI is embedding very nicely within Power Platform space and how this whole Power Platform space is changing in the era of AI, vibe coding, generative pages, and using code apps and all these different things. So that's what we will be touching upon today. And a little bit about myself. So I work as delivery director in Synapse and community super user, technical content creator. I try to basically create videos wherever I think can help people or whatever problems I faced myself, so that you don't have to basically bang your heads hours now. Now in the era of AI, again, you don't have to. You can just write in the AI mode or chat GPT and it can give you answer, but you don't have to spend hours on Stack Overflow trying to find a solution. But anyways, this is what I tried to do to help the community. And I started Power Platform User Group for Bangalore, India, and I tried to host like regular events just like M365 Con and try to gather like-minded people in Bangalore, India. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. And coming to the topic, yeah, what are generative pages and what is it that they do and how it is helping Power Platform, right? So basically, generative pages within Power Platform is basically breakthrough within AI space. So we have seen ChatGPT come in 2022. We have seen Gemini. We have seen Claude. All these crazy models, but there was one space. I think a year ago, we could have said that the Power Platform space was lacking the AI-driven development approach, right? So that's why Microsoft is trying really hard and trying to keep up with all its other initiatives, i.e. GitHub Copilot, GitHub Sparks, your Claude models, and everything, right? So generative pages are a way of Microsoft describing that, okay, AI driven development is the new way of doing Power Platform development. So what it does, right? So it's again AI driven capability within your model driven app. So you can basically, instead of creating your page by drag and drop or your custom JavaScript or your plugins and everything, right? What you can do is you can basically give a natural language prompt to your uh, page, to your model driven app. You can select your GPT model 5 or 4.1. Either of those two models are available. And you can just, as I mentioned, you can just give your thought, whatever thought came to your head while having your dinner or shower, that, okay, my organization lacks HR system, right? So let's try to create a HR system for the organization. Now you can just give, all right, give me one HR page as a landing home screen, which will give me like card design visuals and the ability to add leaves and everything with approval and everything. Now that single prompt can basically generate a whole functional page for you within your model driven app, which is purely React based. And what you can do is you can play it around, give iterative prompts just like any prompts model, and you can refine it up until to a point where you are happy with the functionality. Then that is the whole idea behind your pages. And your key characteristics of generative pages are basically, as I mentioned, like prompting. So natural language interface design, you have it. And then you have your real React code generation. And it's pretty cool, right? To see AI generating like thousands of lines of code based on your single prompt. So it generates all the React code for you line by line, and you can basically see what it's doing, the validations and everything. Working with GPT models, when you're working with Claude models, when you're working with Gemini models for any AI driven development approach, where you struggle is to match the out of the box features Microsoft Power Platform offers you, i.e., your infrastructure, i.e., your security model, i.e., your database features and everything, right? That is where you have to spend more time architecting your solution than doing the AI driven development. Now, that is solved with vibe coding apps, with your code apps, with your generative pages. Why? Because it directly and tightly integrates with Dataverse. How crazy is that? Right. So it integrates with Dataverse. You can have your classic accounts table. You can have your customers table, your accounts table integrated within your application. No problem, no hassle. And same your security models, so you don't have to worry about creating a full-fledged architecture where you have to spend hours and hours trying to figure out, okay, what will be the load on this, what will be the security on this, how would I SSO, how would my organization use AWS or Azure or any intra platform. That's where it shines. Then another cool feature is iterative refinement capability, which is nothing but you keep iterating, keep giving it a better prompts, asking to implement a validation which it missed, or ask to add a nice little visual on top of it, or anything for you to see on that landing page. So iterative refinement is another very cool thing. Now, uh, last point is great for POCs, but for production ready output, now that's debatable. So that's the case with any AI driven development, right? So is it production ready? And whenever you are trying to sell something which was quickly built, that's the very first question everyone asks or your business stakeholders ask. Okay, can I use this in production tomorrow? I was like, no, you cannot use this in production tomorrow. So production ready output, it's debatable. Sometimes if you are working with a very small simple straightforward use case, it can generate the code which you can use in production. But generally, if you are working with a complex application or a complex use case, business case, where you would need to create like many scenarios where multiple screens which needs to be integrated with one another, with approval flow, that too with conditional approvals and everything, right? So that's where you can create a quick POC just to give a visual feel to your business stakeholders, i.e. how it will look like, so that they can visualize and play around with the application and everything. But when it comes to production ready application, you would still need to do a lot of code reviews, how it is functioning, unit testing, integration testing, and all those classic things you would still need to do. And to top it all, it's generated by AI, right? So your most senior architect or your most senior developer might not agree with what the AI have written. So basically that's where you would need to spend some time, uh, how it has written the code, what are the validation it has, what did it not implement, and all these things you would still need to do. So production ready application might still take some time within Power Platform, but for POCs it's just great. So yeah, now let's talk about why innovation matter in app development and especially in Power Platform space, right? So as I was talking about earlier, right, with Microsoft GitHub Copilot, with Gemini models, with Claude, with Lovable AI as opens free and you can use it and everything. Why innovation, right? So when we talk about this AI driven development, which is happening at a very rapid pace right now, with all these different crazy models, was Power Platform catching up? Probably not. If we talk about like a year ago or something, but now it matters, right? So citizen developers, your business stakeholders, and everything. So you can basically do a quick POC and try your hand with a normal prompt and see if you can generate an application out of it, and what will be the ROI for your business. So basically, you don't have 2 weeks to get one screen functional. You can just try one prompt and see if AI can give you the output you want. And that's where innovation excels with AI driven development. While traditional challenges are still there, manual UI design, banging your head with your designers on Figma and trying to come up with a design which works for your unique bespoke requirements. So traditional challenges will be overcome, and that's where innovation excels. And trying to implement a vision which was just a dream so far, years away, sometimes decades away, and you just can't wait to get your hands on the most viable product. And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes when you're trying to implement something and when you see the minimum viable product, you feel like that's not what you envisioned. That's not what I'm looking for. So all that cost, all that money, all that effort from your team goes down the drain. And is that something we want? No, no one wants to see that kind of outcome and a waste of money and resources. So that's where, instead of backlogging your whole product, your vision, and everything, uh, you need to accelerate and basically fail fast to achieve your vision. And that's where AI becomes a helping hand for you. You can quickly see the output, you can quickly fail, and you can quickly evaluate, is the MVP or the vision which you are thinking in your head would actually work for your organization or not. And all this is possible because innovation in the space of Power Platform and in general, that's where AI powered solutions are taking over. So basically, generative pages or vibe coding, power apps, or any other tool which uses AI driven development, it bridges the gap between getting your product and the time and the effort requires to do it. So that's where your AI powered solution is helpful. And what it does is basically help your dev team, help your resource team, right? And lend that extra helping hand to accelerate the progress. And that's why innovation really matters in this era, and especially in Power Platform, where many SMBs organization rely on Power Platform to basically function their internal operations, their time sheeting, their resources, and everything. So that's why it's very important for innovation to be in this Power Platform space. So let's talk about the process, how generative pages actually work, right? So it's very standard UI, which we are used to as a studio. So Power Platform Studio is basically what it uses. So you basically edit a model-driven app or create a new one, and you click on the toggle which says Add Page, and it will open a new dialog box for you. And you just need to select add page, and there will be two options. You need to select describe a page and use your natural language prompts, which is your second step, and give as detailed as possible, but try to minimize the branching out of the prompt. So generative pages, and we will talk about this in the limitations, but generative pages basically works really well when you are giving one isolated screen requirements at a time. Now that's why it's very important that you give the prompt in a way where it can understand that the screen you're trying to create is this, and there is no branching or interlinked logic within the screen. So that is why you need to be very specific with your description. And then when you click hit or generate with AI, it will basically understand the ask and try to create uh, the UI, the business logic, the validations, and everything. And then you refine iteratively. And once you're happy, you can, if you're working with a simple application, you can publish and view the application in the published mode. So that's the process. And some of the key features and capabilities of it is basically, we touched upon these briefly, like natural language creation. You can use your prompts in plain English, no experience in coding or React or TypeScript is required. You can just give, and if you're bad in writing as well, just use chat gpt to give it like I want time sheeting tool, give me a prompt which I can use to give a generative page. That's what I do, I'm lazy. So it can generate like a whole nice little prompt for you, which you can just copy paste and it will generate the code for you in generative pages. uh, no need to create the wireframes, no need to ask your design team to come up with a functional prototype or your dev team to come up with uh, the MVP. So that's a very important point. And the React code generation, which is basically pro code friendly, which was one area where for I think years, Power Platform was lacking, because if you have experience in flow coding languages, can be React, can be your C Sharp, or can be .NET, anything, you felt very restricted. That okay, why can't I achieve this? It's a very basic functionality in React. Oh, why it takes this much effort to implement something as basic as this? So Microsoft heard all that feedback, and now the React code is actually editable, which was not when this feature was in preview. So now you can basically see the code, review it, and if you are not happy or you want to change something, you can edit it and see the changes almost instantly. Then Dataverse integration we talked about. That was, I think, that is, I think, the most important and the unique feature of Generative Pages, as it integrates with Dataverse out of the box and very tightly as well. It's kind of native for model-driven apps, right? So Generative Pages inherits that. Then design image uploads, right? So you were in a meeting, and your business stakeholders were basically giving you requirements that okay, the screen should look like this or that and that, and you basically scribbled on a napkin that okay, the screen or this button should go here, that button should go here. And the beauty of this model is that you can click a picture of that napkin and upload this, and the AI will take reference or inspiration from that scribbled napkin, that okay, my button should go here, my gallery should look like this, it needs to be a card and everything. So it does that as well. Very good feature. It can be a napkin, but it doesn't have to be a napkin, right? So you can still have a full high resolution Figma image, which will be basically used as a reference for your design and UX and UI. So that is again very important and very good feature for you to use if you have it. Then benefits, right? So let's talk about how we can implement a new tech or a new feature. Whenever we are trying to sell something as a new or advanced version of a previous technology, it's very hard to sell to business stakeholders and organizations. And the first thing they ask is, okay, why you want me to switch from this, which works for me, to this? And that's where ROI, that's where importance and everything comes into picture. So we uh, we talk about accelerated speed of development. That is I think the y- most important USP of Generative Pages or AI driven development. So accelerated speed, enhanced productivity. So your dev team doesn't have to spend hours and months and decades to build something which is just a vision in your head. So the team can focus on what it matters most and what they can do better to come up with good iterative loops of what you are trying to do, and leave the hard work or create at least the baseline using the UI, the AI, and then use that baseline as your standard and build on top of it, brick by brick, just like my background. Just joking. Sorry. So yes, enhanced productivity is something rather tedious task for your team to come up with a final MVP. So that's where AI shines, and one of the benefit for you to sell this as technology. Then we have we have another point where citizen developers, sometimes your project managers or program managers wants to try their hand on tech, and they are not technical, or sometimes they are not technical. So what they can do is use this and try to come up with a vision which they are asked to provide as a suggestion, or as a presentation or anything like that. So they can, citizen developers can actually give plain English requirements, and it can generate the code for them. So this is where you get a lot of benefit out of AI driven development, because now everyone in your organization or in your team is empowered to create something and show it or present it, and it's not just developers, or you need to have years and decades of experience to build something, right? So this is where AI shines. And then collaboration, right? So business users and developers, they try to work together, collaborate, and come up with something which works for them, and which is efficient, collaborative, and as I said, you collectively fail fast to achieve the final vision which you're trying to achieve. So these are some of the benefits of using generative pages or vibe coding apps or anything which uses AI driven development. Now, let's talk about the limitations and best practices when it comes to generative pages. Now, whenever we are working with any Microsoft tech, especially in Power Platform, there are probably 10 ways to achieve a single requirement, probably more. I might underselling this, but let's just say there are 10 different ways to achieve this single requirement. And it's our responsibility to identify which one would work best for this set of requirements we are getting. As consultants or as architects or as devs, it's our duty to identify all the 10 paths and identify which one would work best and what are the pros and cons of choosing one over another. That's why it's very important to identify the limitations of any particular feature or tech. So very first thing is that the generative pages or this one and some certain features, i.e. that napkin one and the uploading the UI image one, I think it's still in preview to the best of my knowledge. So preview features may vary across region. So you might be trying it in let's say a US region, but your client needs to be that to be implemented, or your organization is actually in let's say UK region. So that feature might not be available for you to be play around or implement in your application. So that is very important that you understand if it is a preview feature or not, which you are trying to use in your application or in your POC, because it can vary from region to region. Then governance and security. So as I said, generative pages uses the um, same security model, i.e. your security roles, your org level, business unit level, parent business unit level, all this hierarchy it uses out of the box. So it is out of the box compliant with your GDPR laws if you are in UK, and it uses the same region to host your data. It uses the same security model which you are used to while working in our platform space. So governance and security is covered out of the box, which makes it easier for organization to adapt as a standard practice for them. Then another pages is that certain data types are not supported, unfortunately. So when you are working with complex data types, your lookups, your roll-ups, and all these different complex fields which you're trying to do recently, formula language, formula level, all these complex data types might not be supported in generative pages. So when you're trying to create any page and you are trying to implement a complex scenario, and be mindful that you check if that option is available out of the box or not. Then quality assurance, very important. Whenever you are using AI to generate your code, it's our duty that we duly check that code for any any best practice violation, any quality standards which that code might not meet in the future, and do code reviews and thoroughly ensure that the quality is up to the mark. Because if not, then it can be really painful to go back to the previous versions and basically come up with something which actually Okay, I just remembered I missed one more limitation, which was very important. So when you're working with generative pages, you can connect up to 6 Dataverse tables at a time. So again, as I said, if you are, it's really good for POCs, but again, for a complex scenario or for production or enterprise level application, uh, you might need more tables for the page to be connected with. So that's why that's another very important limitation to be mindful of, that it can connect up to 6 Dataverse tables at a time. So that's another limitation of generative pages. Then so some real world applications which you can use. So you can, so just so basically plant that seed in all of your head, what you can actually do using generative pages. So let's say you're trying to create like a service desk kind of a solution, customer service hub. So you can give like a demo prompt would be create a customer detail page showing contact information, recent orders, and support tickets with quick action. And you can basically attach your tables. So if, let's say for example, you already have customer detail, orders, and tickets as tables created in your Dataverse, you can attach those tables, and your Dataverse sorry, your model driven app will basically take those Dataverse tables as input and then display it back when it creates the UI. Similar to HR request portal as well, you build a request form with your calendar integration approval flow. That can be a prompt, and you can have a full-fledged, as I said, leave request leave, what type of leave, approval, and everything. Similar to HR request, you can have your sales dashboard, and that I personally tried. So basically, I was using dynamic sales, and I was like, okay, can I replicate dynamic sales as my own model-driven app? So I took that as an inspiration and tried to describe the page which I was using within dynamic sales, like the opportunity form, and I gave that as a prompt that okay, create me an opportunity UI where I can use the same set of fields and the same set of business process flow and the UI like dynamic sales, and it actually created a pretty decent replica of dynamic sales. So that's just an example of what you can achieve using generative pages within your model driven app and publish it and use it. So these are some of the examples, not limited, but you can basically start playing around and start from any of these three and take your imagination to the next level while trying your hand with generative pages. So yeah, next step, what we'll be looking into, like explore the feature, identify use case. We talked about governance, and then once you are actually successful in selling that as a technology, you can train your teams and measure and iterate. So these were some of the features, limitations, and everything. But this was all theory, right? So let me show you how it actually works and how you can actually create using generative pages. So let me stop sharing. I'll share back 1 second. Right. Let me share screen. All right. Okay, perfect. So this was that's what I was trying to create. So let me reload this. 1 second. So I was trying to play with it, and I was trying to create a different application called timesheeting tool. And I was trying to create certain pages in it, and what it can do if I gave like a basic prompt of like a dashboard plus feature rich a page. So as I said, this is our classic model driven app UI. And what you can do here is basically click on add page, and instead of selecting a database table, what you do is describe a page. Once you click this, what it will do is it will give you like a prompt prompt window, and you will have two different features or options here. So you can see describe your page. All these out of the box options are there, and what you can do is attach images and attach table, and you can see both are available, and this preview feature is there. So what this means basically, if you have, let's say, an attachment control created within your table itself, and you want to use those images as reference or as inspiration for the model, then you can basically toggle this on. But again, be mindful, this is a preview feature, so make sure, yeah, you double check if this preview feature is available in your region or not. So yeah, so let's describe something. And as I said, if you're lazy as me, then what you can do is you can write uh, prompts using ChatGPT and then give it here. So I have my prompts written, and I'll just paste it here. So you can see what I'm suggesting is like create a page name my timesheet home. Da, 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 da. I'll just do this as home landing, and do this, do this, do this. Simple, right? And click generate. What it will do for you, it's just thinking what is going on and everything. And you can see it's writing React code 150, 160, almost what 2 3 seconds, and it wrote uh, 170 lines of code. So you can actually see what the agent thought based on your prompt, right? So you can see what all was going on behind the screens and everything, and a summary if you don't want to read that huge thing. Right. So then you can see current weeks, it created filters, last 8 weeks, and you can see all. You can have status as this, draft, all statuses, you can see, and you can click submit, and you can recall as well, open. Again, this is just one page, as I said. It works best if you give one page at a time. But next, what you can do is you can give another page description and a prompt saying that make this functional, and recall and open new timesheet page and everything. So this way, you can easily present something which is clickable, and your business stakeholders can basically open this app once you publish this, similar to your model driven app, save it, you can share it with them, and this works great. Within a couple of seconds, we created a POC level application, or at least a page. But yeah, so if I show you how I created a couple more pages, so you can see here I've created like another page which it creates like new timesheets. So you can see weekly entry, and you can see projects, you can see tasks, you can enter your times, and once you submit, the record will be visible inside your gallery. So let's see that for quickly. Perfect. So you can see now I have this as my prompt, and it created this. So this is my gallery. What I can do is project a task A1. I worked for 5 hours, 6 hours, testing, timesheet entry, and once I add the line, it adds here. Similar to that, I can create multiple ones. And if you don't like the UI, by all means, give iterate on top of it, and say the UX is not there. I need a card visual and that and that. So it basically creates that for you. Testing timesheet entry. So you can basically do this entry, and you can see your output, and some of the metadata columns are here, like the date, status, current user, your timesheet, and once submitted, you can see this. You can recall as well. The moment you do, you can add your entries, validations you can implement, and that way you can basically have a functional page in a couple of seconds. So yeah, I think I gave you a pretty good idea about how this all works and how you can try playing around with it. So we have 5 more minutes. So if you have any questions, now's the time.
So, Marco, any questions? I didn't see any questions.
Wow.
So,
No
no.
question.
So, but from your experience, what do you think must an, I would say, classical app developer change regarding to their skills to to fulfill and prompting of generative pages? So this is I think an interesting question regarding to the actual situation, I name it.
Yeah. Well, you got cut out there for a second, for quite some seconds. So if you can repeat the question, please. Didn't catch the whole thing.
Right, no problem. So my question is an classic. I name it as a classic app developer. What need an classic app developer change regarding to vibe coding and generative pages? What are the skills we need to add, and what are the skills you need to prepare for the future?
Yeah, really great question. And I think classic app devs are getting really scared as well in the AI first development. But I think the major shift needs to happen in the way they think. Instead of just thinking about the tech, I think they need to shift slightly towards understanding the business requirements. So they need to be partial BA as well now, because if they understand the business context, if they understand the pain point, they can actually write good prompt, which is the baseline and the feeding or the starting line of AI driven development. So instead of just getting requirements on a silver platter that, okay, this button needs to go and this button needs to do this, they need to think holistically that, okay, why this button is here? What is the actual underlying business requirement? What is the pain point? They need to widen their horizon and understand the business requirements and context so that they can prompt better and use AI driven technologies like generative pages, vibe coding apps to basically reduce the development time of the requirements.
So what I saw was one of my pain point was we didn't use PowerFX. And this was my greatest pain point if I saw the generative pages, and I said, okay, it feels more like an coding of an full stack app with an with prompt, and not like the Power App standard was. The standard Power App standard was is you can code it, you can make it, and now it feels like you build a full stack app with full stack code, but with prompts. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, that is true actually. But I think the USP of low code development was reduced delivery time, right? That was the agenda when Power Apps got launched in, I think, 2017. But now that USP is no longer there. You can build the full stack application probably in a shorter duration than it would take Power FX and a Canvas app to build. So that USP is no longer there. And that's why I think Microsoft, instead of giving low coding vibe coding apps or platform, they are giving like generative pages and vibe coding apps where it's actually writing React code and full stack development, because it takes lesser time than writing Power FX and creating all those conditional statements. So I think that is the way forward, and that's the hint I am getting, at least from Microsoft and the way they are releasing these features.
Oh, there's a question. Can you involve virtual tables in generative pages?
Now that's a really good question. To be honest, I didn't try it, so I don't know. But it's a really good question. I'll definitely give it a try. But conceptually, I think you should be able to, because you can use virtual tables in normal Canvas app and everything. But in all honesty, I don't know if you can integrate virtual tables within your generative pages.
Yeah, okay, yes, I didn't know too. Okay. Um, so I think yeah, that's all for today. So thank you. I think it was a really good overview and deep dive into it. I think it will help a lot of people, but it's not available in every country at the moment. But so yeah, if it will be available in the future, so we are prepared for it. And yeah, I think this is one of the most important features for the future because it will change a lot. It
Yes,
will change our work as an consultant and developer. And yeah, thank you for that great oversight.
absolutely. All right. Thank you very much, Marcel, for the
Thank you.
yeah,
So
you.
our next expert session is with my co-host and friend Fortunato Di Donato, and he talks about AI need guidelines, a little bit like my keynote from tomorrow from this morning, and but he will take a deeper look to the CRM dynamics as the single source of truth. I think yeah, you must join this session. It will start in 40 minutes. See you when
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices, and they apply them to everything.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together. The mic
Hello and a warm welcome to our M365 Con. My name is Marcel Bosch. I'm the co-founder of Power Bros, and today with me here in our next expert session is Fortunato Di Donato, my friend, my colleague, and my co-host at the M365 show. He has an amazing topic for us today, I think. Yeah, I think it's an amazing topic. I need guidelines. This is nearly the same topic as me this morning, but now CRM as a single source of truth. I think this would be amazing. Fortu, you're here, but you're on mute. Yeah.
There is the button.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Awesome.
you. You can start. Have fun.
First problem solved. Check. So nice. I have not even needed AI, at least for this at the moment, but who knows? I always had the idea basically to create a wonderful application that is AI based and checks when you want to talk into the meeting and automatically unmutes you because, of course, it knows that you want to talk to the guys. But at the moment, nobody has developed the software, so feel invited. Yeah. Welcome to my session. I hope you can still hear me and you can see me. Just cry if not, or scream, or just do whatever you want to do. I will now share my screen in the hope that it will work. Let me see. The last time I shared my screen, I've not got it back. Let me provide. Please give me a signal whether you can see my screen. Can you see it? Wonderful, great. So my topic today is CRM as the single source of truth. In my case specifically, it's Dynamics 365 CE. It's called CE. I don't know how Microsoft will call it in about 24 hours from here on, because names change always and very fast. So I would like to talk about this topic today. We have a development ongoing. There are many people that want to implement AI, that have already implemented AI. Microsoft, of course, also shuffled in AI and said, here, this is what we have for you. Awesome. And the problem is that it's a powerful tool, but like other tools, you need to get an idea on how to use it. So this is what I want to present you. But let's go into the deep talk. So first of all, I've brought here some topics. First of all, the engineer who is talking, because I want to build with you the ideal CRM with AI. When I talk building, by the way, I talk more on an upper approach, not the pure development, because otherwise 45 minutes are not that much, honestly. Even with low-code approaches, it takes some time. Then I would like to talk about our goal, why we are sitting here, if you have not yet understood it until now. Our assembly plan, the assembly line, technical specifications, the so-called components of success, and the roadmap. So how do I want to connect them all with each other? And yeah, that's basically it. So it's built like an assembly line from the idea to the final product. Cool. So let's talk about me a bit, so that you know who the heck you are talking to, because beside being the friend of Marcel and Mirko, who is also there, I also have some things ongoing into my mind. Actually, many things happen into my mind. There are doctors that are trying to find out what the heck. But yeah, let me move on. So from a career perspective, first of all, my name is Fortunato Di Donato. I will provide you contacts later. I basically am living near Berlin. at the moment. And I think the moment is about 20 years now. Originally with that name, I'm Italian, but was born and raised in Germany, Southwest Germany, near Stuttgart. I started as a normal developer, classic developer, I would say, full stack. Also mainframe programming, which is interesting to say the least. With 8 colors and a nice interface, it's always fun, as long as you were born around the 70s. Not anymore now, but it's still interesting. But it's another kind of a topic, not for today and not my one. I at some point switched to classic development for the public sector, or in the public sector for about 10 years. And then I moved over to the CRM area, low code, and many other topics. Today, I'm a manager and a solution architect for Dynamics 365 CE based solutions, model-driven apps, but also RPA stuff, Power Pages, and recently also AI. My focus is basically on the synergy between stable CRM processes and innovative technologies, not necessarily limited to artificial intelligence, but there is a strong emphasis at the moment because, basically everyone wants to see this buzzword, and you need to pay attention that it doesn't end as being a buzzword. But I will talk about this topic. And my idea is to provide solutions to enable things. So I could say that I'm a bit experienced when it comes to the Microsoft ecosystem and the strategic implementation of CRM systems, enriched, I would say, by AI, not necessarily pure AI. And my core philosophy, and this is something that is reflected throughout all my solutions, is that basically tech can enable. Like me being an enabler, my idea is to combine knowledge from a various perspective with the business expertise and to lead teams to success. So my idea is not to basically say, look, this is the software and we need to use this and that, because the best ideas come normally from the use case and what people really need, and not what someone has just learned. Okay, this is the core idea and core problem we have at the moment with AI. So this is about me. Forgot to say, I'm 44 years old, not about 44 years old, will turn 45 this year. So I have a tendency at the moment to get older. So yeah, I think it's pretty normal. So what is our goal? Because I think this is quite interesting for you to know what the heck is going on. At the moment, we have a problem. Okay, a huge problem. We have on the one side, we have the classic, developers or users, and the people that use the software on a daily basis. On the other hand, we have AI. And at the moment, there are a lot of managers out there that think that by shoveling AI into something, problems are automatically solved. Okay, so you remove person 1 from the equation, person 2, and suddenly AI works. Honestly, this is not the best approach. As you can already imagine, this doesn't work this way. People do not accept a software or a tool just because it's out there. This doesn't work this way. If you just throw in a hammer and say, hey, look, this is a hammer, it will solve all your problems, then have a lot of fun to clean your windows with that hammer. Okay, it won't work. But there are managers out there who think that AI will solve everything because AI can adapt. Honestly, it can't. Not in the way you imagine. And people already have experience. Basically, a lot of companies have experienced those problems, and there are many reasons for it. Because, yeah, let's go through it. First of all, we have in our ecosystems often, not always, dirty data, meaning duplicates, old and corrupted data that basically stresses AI. If you have bullshit in, you get bullshit out. I'm sorry, but it's the way it is. Okay. We have data silos. So we have data, but it's on different stages, whether it's on SharePoint or it's not even in your ecosystem, or if you are living in Germany, it's written on paper or on faxes. This is a huge problem. Okay. You won't solve this issue by saying AI will solve everything, because it won't. Regarding data silos, you have also a problem with the data location. This has something to do also where the data lies, not only on a software perspective, but also on a location perspective. Is this on-prem or is it on cloud? We have a bottleneck when it comes to integration. How can you enrich legacy systems or legacy software that was developed in the past by AI? I don't know how it's for you, but there are software developers out there, or users that have software in the house that is 10 years old or older and is very narrowed down to a specific use case for a specific area of work. And basically, AI could be an idea, but for some reasons, the software does not provide any possibilities to implement it. That's a huge problem, and that's one of the biggest hurdles. Then we have a situation that software sometimes is modular. Working with agents and connect them all together can be a huge pain. We have a vote of confidence. What does it mean? There were some surveys. I don't say that is very representative. I only say that in 30% of one of those surveys, people basically fear that they are replaced by AI, which in turn can be problematic for the introduction of AI, and also the fear of control, of a loss of control. And by the way, which is not that far away, honestly. And this has something to do with, again, people that think that AI will solve everything. But there are people on the other side of the equation that need to interact with other people, other humans, and do not like to be left alone in this uncanny valley, meaning there is an acceptance problem on the other side, which companies now have found out. And yeah, that's basically it. We have also regulations, the EU AI Act, meaning that companies must document precisely how AI decisions are made in CRM. Meaning when there is some scoring by any means, which is already problematic, you cannot basically leave the software on its own. Meaning that there is a high demand of the human in the loop. We have also some kind of skill gap, because AI is not automatically AI. How can I use AI in my software? How can I talk to AI? And we have the so-called cost trap. And this is honestly also a problem. If you make yourself too much dependable of AI, you are basically also, how do I say, a bit in a trap that you are dependent on the software, meaning that prices may rise, and then you have to take it or leave it, and leave it is perhaps a problem. We are already seeing this, and this also poses some problems. By the way, you will hear from me some very critical words, because when it comes to AI, not because I'm against AI, I honestly appreciate it very much. Honestly, parts of the images are created here by AI. You will see this. I'm not against it. I'm against of a blind usage of AI without any humans in the loop, without understanding it and how to use it. Okay, for me, this is the fine line between talking about NFTs, which until today have a very narrowed use case, but were the buzzword of everything, and AI on the other side, which was already in the times before useful. It was already, and it's still useful, but it needs to be handled with care. And the sloppiness that we are having at the moment is really a problem. And I continue to use the word AI slop, because that's the problem. We have too many, and this is the huge problem we are having here. We have not the good approach of using AI that we want to have. We are not using it always in the way we should use it. But people that are using it in the way it can be used are having, how do I say it, some advantages. And this comes down to how AI is used and implemented. And this is what I want to say here. So I'm not against it, okay? Oh, it's a bit lost here on my screen. You can see it. The return on invest is missing at the moment. That's the final problem. We are basically, move this here. We are having a problem with companies that implemented AI and have found out that it won't provide the return they basically have initiated or aimed for. So at the moment, we have the following situation: either no AI, because nobody needs AI, and on the other side, the buzzword AI, nobody needs humans. Well, it should be humans, not humas, but you get the idea. So we have this situation here at the moment. Those two words are crashing, because living with AI only is not the best approach, and living without it and completely relying on CRM can work, but it's not as fast as it could be if you could, for example, and now I'm going a bit ahead, just extract the information out of an opportunity by just letting the AI work and getting in 2 or 3 phrases everything you need to know about the opportunity, or enrich your data by data that you are getting out of social media or something like that, or sentiment analysis and those ideas. This is something that you can get by AI in very narrowed down use cases, but you need to use them in a way that we as a human in the loop can use it. And this is what I want to achieve. What I want is a human strategy that meets the machine execution, so that you turn your data, your static data, into something that is basically predictive velocity. Okay? Being enabled to get ideas faster in a more reliable way, with the verification power a human can bring, without hallucinations that AI brings, but with the speed of getting a lot of statistic relevant data from a huge amount of their data from various sources, narrowed down to what you need, what you as a person need at the moment for your decision making. Should I pursue this opportunity or not? Should I move on or not? Should I leave it or not? That's something that can be decided very quickly. And in a situation where you are in a basket with many other people or many other products or decision makers that will grab something, it's very important to know where do I invest and where do I leave, and what do I do at which point. So my target is basically CRM powered by AI. So let's talk about our assembly plan. We move from tools to business value, meaning my approach is data readiness. To have data in place, cleaned up, and usable. I want to achieve the possibility to extend my AI models or my AI approach easily. Okay, I would like to customize fields without needing to know which one, or without being too careful that I would destroy anything. It should be flexible. I would like to have architectural guardrails to know where I can move and whatnot, and they should be very clear. I would like to have an orchestration of my processes, my interfaces. Which data is relevant for which use case, for which AI situation at which point. I would like to target innovation. I would like to use what I really need, not what buzzword people say. And I would like to have the integration for the right people, for the right decision makers at the right point. So not every AI tool makes sense for everyone, and not every function should be automatically opt-out, should be opt-in. Okay? Overwhelming people with decisions, or this automatic decision making, is not good for someone that knows CRM from the start, where everything needs to be done manually. If you overwhelm them with predictive decisions, and those decisions are not good, the result will always be forget about AI. Nobody needs AI. Okay, this is not a banana that ripes into at your home. This is software that needs to be accepted. Without the human, nobody will use the software. If nobody uses the software, your return will be zero or even less. So let's talk about the assembly line. What do I want? I would like to have AI as a good sidekick. So my idea is to have the generative copilot integration that we already have in CRM, but it can do more than what you already see. I would like to have language models that do lead and opportunity scoring automatically. So I would like to push all my data into AI. I would like to get, based on my capacity, on what we can deliver, on the amount of money we can make, so to say, or the revenue. I would like to have a decision. And also, given the competitors that we have, perhaps, and we know of, how high are our chances? Or do we have a possibility to win here? Or is it a lose-lose situation? When I talk to a customer after I've done the decision, the sales, or even before, during, how do I say, a presentation, a marketing automation stuff, before, during, and after, I would like to have real-time sentiment analysis. And we were already in this position, by the way, about 10 years ago. We are now in a better position because things are faster. But we already were there before even AI was that huge of a word that we are having here. Sentiment analysis was already a thing. Analyzing in the customer service area, people that have used customer service in Dynamics, the customer service module, know what I'm talking about. So it was possible to do a real-time sentiment analysis of emails and even of meetings, voice-based. And also providing a case summarization, but also in my case of sales, also opportunity summarization, mail summarization, answer on a mail that was summarized by AI to what I want to say. I basically say to AI, hey, based on the mood of this mail, provide a good answer, and the software analyzes the mail, tries to find out what the customer may need based on the history that we have, and provides a good answer. Coming to the fact that the data is on different silos and such, I would like to leverage Microsoft Fabric and connect it to Dataverse to feed AI and to have the 360-degree customer view. Okay, with the human in the loop. Meaning I have a cockpit, my CRM, I go into it, and I get all the information I need. I already have in CRM a 360-degree view, but not perhaps from every data that they have in a company and beyond. Meaning, I don't know whether the customer has complained about a specific tool in the past, not necessarily from me, but from a competitor. And does it make sense to perhaps sell something that goes into the same direction, or perhaps to not even offer it? So going more than 360 degrees, doing double turn, so to say. When it comes to marketing automation, it would be good to have AI segmentation or AI-based segmentation in. Meaning, does it make sense to invite someone to a meeting, to a marketing event where the person basically has provided in the past almost no feedback or perhaps negative feedback because that person said that is not interested at all. Okay, maybe. But I don't think it would be good, especially if the amount of tickets are for some reasons limited. Okay, nobody likes this. What people like is to know, to get a good idea on an event and to only be invited to events or offered products which they really need. Okay, based on data they have agreed to share. The next point. And again, coming to the fact that I want an easy-to-go AI extensibility, I would like to have everything in low-code format to allow people to go through those changes or to enable my customer to do changes on its own. So I don't want my customers to be dependent from me. Okay, I shouldn't say this normally, but I think it's my job as an enabler to make companies, how do I say it politely, be able to work with their software they have paid for. Okay, I think that's good. And then I'm exactly in the position that I want to be, enabler. Cool. So the technical specification. So we have a long assembly line basically, but coming to the fact that you are seeing here data quality, governance, contextual orchestration, process design, custom models, and so on, we need to bring them in line so that in the end we have what we want. So let's talk about the components. One I already mentioned is the generative Copilot integration. Okay, meaning enable Copilot features in the D365 Admin Center. And that's very important. I don't know at the moment how it is. In the past, it was opt-out. Now it's opt-in. No, it was opt-in, then opt-out. It changes at the moment. But that's one approach that you basically enable those where it makes sense to enable. Again, only after a short training. Otherwise, people get overwhelmed, especially when there is some auto-form fill-in, which is problematic. And we need to have strict data loss prevention rules enabled. This is something that you normally would always do, but it's just to be there to remind that we need to do this anyway, even with AIs. So this is part one. Enable what we already have. We can also enable sales insights, which are now asked to do some predictive scoring. And if it's not enough, we need to adapt further AI to do selective training for training and selecting the correct data for historical CRM data sets to define what is a good score for us. And the customer service insights, but also generally speaking on sales, and basically on every mail that you receive, you can activate the NLP services or the real-time sentiment analysis to get either graphically shown or as a number how the sentiment is towards a specific topic. Not necessarily limited to emails, but as said, also when it comes to customer service, for example, on phone. When it comes to Microsoft Teams, for example, you can use it during a Microsoft Teams call, as long as everyone has agreed, of course, to because the conversation normally needs to be recorded. And then it makes sense. We need to model in Dataverse, connect Microsoft Fabric for the data consolidation. And also especially important, if not done before, is the data cleansing processes to ensure that we have a single source of truth, less hallucinations resulting, which is good for us and good for everyone, except especially for the acceptance. In customer insights journeys, when it comes to marketing automation, it makes absolutely sense to have dot also AI enabled. That's it, basically. And also on the, if you are using the AI on the pages themselves, also to train them based on data that you are having, meaning building a good FAQ database, a knowledge library database in your system. We can develop action plugins in Copilot Studio, but we can also connect to external APIs to get our additional information. But this comes back to the other topic with the connection of various data silos to get one single point of truth, but to have as large database if possible. Our result set that I have in mind is basically to transform, to get the records in the system in first place, to already use AI during this selection on the one side. In the end, to have a CRM that is basically driven and enriched by AI in the core, with the humans in the loop that check whether the data makes sense, whether this is good, to overturn AI if it doesn't meet the criteria, and to generate in the end a measurable return on invest, meaning something that actually brings in money and does not only cost. So we need, so in the core messages, we need the humans still. We need, because real people do real things, that's the point. And on the other side, we need to, how do I say, decrease the risk of false decisions, whether by humans or AI, and to have always this connection, how or this possibility, how are things connected, how do people come, or AI comes to a decision and people come to a decision based on AI or even without AI, if so. And that's it, because AI again is good in recognizing patterns, but if there's something is new on the streets, on the left and the right side, that you perhaps do not have trained your model in, there should be always someone that can do the decision. So relying too much on AI can make you blind for the so-called black swan situation. And on the other side, you have the situation where people have seen too many, have too much routine and do not see this special situation or something in a special situation, the speciality, how to say it. This is where people and software and tech can enrich each other. Let's come from data silos to an intelligent ecosystem. So basically, we have a three-phase approach that I would like to go in. First of all, make our data clean and secure. do everything we need to connect the data, to lay the foundation on the left side, to make sure we have a stable base for the next part. When we have a stable database, a stable data train base, AI can enrich us only then. Then, after people got some basic training and such, and the AI has a good view on the data and is trained enough, we can enable Copilot. We can enable AI as a base, and then we can start on making people adopt the AI. To explain them how to use it, because it's a different approach of talking to AI. People these days are more, we have the term Googling. People have learned a specific way to talk to machines, to talk to computers, and they think that it's the same approach for AI, but and then you basically do not get any more usage out of it. You're not getting your personal return on invest. You are only using a software in the same way you have searched search engines in the past. This is similar to the approach when the first object-oriented languages were released, and people still try to do the functional approach, not understanding what object orientation meaning. And this is the same approach now. People need to understand AI doesn't need all the things that you have used before. You can speak in a natural way, but you also need to pay attention to what you say, because you are getting perhaps exactly what you wished for, but not necessarily what you need. This, for example, if you already know when you ask to create something, a specific text, piece of text, it highly depends on the audience. So it's good to tell the AI, look, do what you like, but and please do what I would like you to do, but please write it for managers, because managers tend to speak in a different approach, a different way than developers. Okay, and so the presentation or the text may come in a different way, and the AI could put emphasis on different approaches, on different things that are more interesting for someone else, not necessarily for you as a developer, or vice versa. Good. When those two things are done, the foundation and the activation, we need to move to the transformation, meaning we enrich what we already have by custom intelligence, by custom processes, not necessarily only AI driven, but around AI. So, for example, we have a lead to opportunity conversion, or a conversion or a complete business process flow from lead over opportunity to the end, basically to a win or loss. You are basically using steps or phases where you need AI in the loop, or AI can enrich, for example, an automatic lead scoring, or I don't know, any other approaches where AI verifies the data that is inserted and makes sense. For example, it says, hey, look, we have some things in the customer service where people already complained. Perhaps pushing this opportunity at the moment could be problematic for your product, because it seems there should be a problem. So perhaps you do not close this opportunity now. You are waiting to do a quote. You are waiting to place an order. You are waiting because we may have a problem with the real assembly line at the moment, that the product stable is basically broken or something like that. So enriching the data from various sources can provide you a better approach to avoid making potential sad customers, or potential sad salespeople. Nobody likes sad salespeople. Okay, so that's basically it. So the core idea is to move the enablement of the people and the software, enriching everything with the last pieces and fanciness and bells and whistles, to have basically a software a CRM that works, that is enriched. And given the time, we landed, basically. I think this is what I wanted to say. 40 minutes. Sorry. Cool. Okay. Marcel, are you taking the questions now over, or is it?
Yeah, we have a question. Is there any ALM issue with generative pages? Oh, I think it's regarding to the other expert session, but do
Yeah.
you have any answer on it?
No, honestly, not at the moment. I mean, no.
Yeah, it's the main problem. It's only for the US market at the moment, and that's why we, as a European guys, has a big problem here to go into deep dive with generative pages.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I learned a lot. My most important topic here from your session was everyone hates salespeople. I hope nobody from the sales teams is joining us today.
No. Honestly, no, I don't. No. I don't want to put the emphasis on.
It just was
salespeople.
fun. It was fun.
Okay. Phew. No, because honestly, salespeople are the ones that you need to convince for the software. You cannot press them and say, "Look, use the software," and that's it. Because CRM and salespeople already is something that needs to be. It's not a love marriage, how to say, and it's you need to have a tool that helps them. Okay, and if you add AI that perhaps thinks, hey, you could use Mr. Instead of Mrs. in the form, just because AI has the idea of a prediction, you are basically not working with them, but against salespeople, thus ending in a situation of accepting the software, but more of pushing it back, which you don't want. You want the salespeople on your side, not against you.
So I have especially a question to CRM, because I'm not an expert on this, and you are the expert. And I know Dynamics licenses are very expensive, and the AI part comes on top. So my question is, regarding to monitoring a return on investment, how can I get back the money what I invest? Where it's not only regarding to AI, but I think this is an important topic if we talk about your CRM.
Yeah. So basically, Microsoft had already started to implement AI basically as part of your subscription model already. When it comes to the holistic view and adding more connections to other topics, you need to pay additional money, of course. But if you just want to get some basic AI support, you are getting this out of the box for your subscription. I don't know how the situation is at the moment, but I think that also when it comes to the Outlook add-in, for a short example, you are getting the possibility to already out of the box, and this is a thing of the past, that you can connect your Outlook mailbox or your Exchange mailbox with your with your CRM. Meaning that when you track your mails and you open a specific opportunity, you're already getting the email in this opportunity. So you can see the activities that happened around this, not necessarily only yours, but the one of other people. But what the AI already has there is that it extends this view by a summarization based on the data in the opportunity and based on the data of your mail. And this is a two-way situation where you can basically also leverage the add-on to generate a response based on your connection out of the CRM. And you can say, and based on the availability, you can basically say, yeah, please answer here, or generate a text where the next free employee can answer, or the person in charge of this opportunity will answer soon. And then based on the availability and such, you are getting an automatic answer generated in different languages. This is something that comes already out of the box, which is already very potent. When you then want to get additional topics like linked integration and such, this costs additional money. since Microsoft tends to change the licenses every 48 hours, I don't know how the situation is at the moment, but you're already getting a lot out of the box. Let me say it this way.
But regarding to return on invest, so is there something and tool where you can see how you can save money? So I never see it,
actually,
because it's really interesting.
No, there are many ideas around it, honestly, what you can do, because but it depends from customer to customer. So there are customers that are basically looking at they have a track in the CRM. What do their people actually, when it comes to topics, what do their people invest in a specific support time, and what do they cost per hour, to basically get an idea how they can perhaps be faster. So and generate, how do I say, a chart basically on your on what you are getting. So this is where you leverage Power BI. This is the next approach, where you use AI and Power BI based on your data that you are having to generate a situation on how much you invest for your licenses. So you are putting their license cost, how much your people are costing, how much they are investing in an opportunity based on the opportunity time you are investing in medium, basically, in an average, and creating how do I say, a prediction whether it makes sense to pursue this opportunity, because your salespeople are costing too much, and it makes more sense to generate based on the data another approach for different customers. So perhaps the A customer makes sense, the B customer not so much, but the C customer that is smaller makes more sense, because in the past you have generated faster revenue on this one.
This sounds really, really interesting. I think you will get a lot of calls in this week, and some companies want to buy this tool with you, or want to have this tool as soon as possible. Really, really
But
cool
perhaps
idea.
If they not click on the second URL, because there is a typo in there as well. So this is where you can see that this is actually from me and a human, because I made a typo in my surname in the second URL. Sorry, this is Di Donato. That's it was a long night, do not ask. So yeah.
Okay, so I think this was really amazing. And I like the color of your slides.
Yeah, I basically said, I wondered how can I make Marcel happy, and I thought blue is the one.
So our next session will be David Wyatt with from prototype to enterprise, professionalizing your Power Automate solution. For you, Fortu, I thank you. Have a nice day, and we see us soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos. Approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Das habe ich aber gehört.
How's it going?
Well,
All right,
cool.
Marcel? Can you hear me okay, Marcel?
Hi, David. So didn't see this with you here on stage. So, yeah, I think I make a short introduction, and after that I went out, and at the end I come back, and we, yeah. So if there are any questions, I will, yeah, make some questions here, and so from the timetable, we take a look at for 45 minutes. It takes a little bit longer, makes no problems here.
Cool. Nice one.
Yeah. So everything fine on your side?
Yes, I'm ready to go. Oh, hopefully, I'm not talking much AI, so hopefully everybody's interested.
Yeah, so it's winter and we have not so many people with illness, which is really good. Because not any people are coming from United States like here.
Yeah, the holiday, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. Here, Isabel is living in Austin. I think we need to have 24 degrees now, I think.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
okay, it's a bit cold.
I think we are live. So hello and a warm welcome to M365 Con. My name is Marcel Bosch. I am the co-founder of the M365 Con and from the Power Bros. And today in our expert session is here David Wyatt. He wants to talk about from prototype to enterprise, professionalizing your Power Automate solutions. Yeah, I really love this topic because Power Automate is such a great thing, I think. Okay, you could start. Hello, David. Warm welcome.
Thank you for having me today. I will just share my presentation. After watching all the great speakers today, I realized I probably should have got AI to help with my deck because it's not quite as good as what everybody else wants to do. Let's have a look. Let's share. Hopefully everybody can see that. Yes. So today I want to talk about from prototype to enterprise, professionalizing your Power Automate flows. Bit of a mouthful, but what does it mean? It means that Power Automate is one of those really open tools and it's easy to build for yourself, but it can also be an enterprise level tool. And how do you get from personalizing your flows to making sure that they're good enough for enterprises? So a little bit about me. I'm a 2 times Microsoft MVP for Power Automate and Power Apps. Really lucky. It's such a kind of like a nice kudos to have. I've been developing on the Power Platform for 6 years. My background wasn't IT. I was a retail manager and did operations. And I got into the Power Platform, particularly Power Automate, to make my life easier in my role. And that's one of the reasons I'm a big evangelist of low code and citizen development. I think these tools are fantastic for enabling people who might not have the technical or qualifications to do it, but have the right skill set. So I love having these tools available and sharing them with the people. I'm an avid blogger, about 150 blogs. I love writing about the Power Platform, sharing what I know. I also do a little bit of Power Platform white hacking. What does that mean? It means I kind of look for potential vulnerabilities in the Power Platform. It's a very safe platform, but there's still obviously potential weaknesses. I've had 2 security exceptions accepted by Microsoft. Last year, if you remember, when you couldn't rerun flows that were triggered by somebody else, that kind of setting came in. That was me with one of my vulnerabilities I identified. So sorry about that. And the last thing I do is I develop some kind of dev tools to make developing on the Power Platform easier. These tools that started off just to help me, but then I share with others to try and make their development easy. So with such a low barrier to entry, and that barrier is getting lower and lower with AI, it's really easy for you as a developer just to open up Power Automate and just build. The UI is super friendly, it's drag and drop, it's got drop downs. It basically sets the stall up so anybody can build quickly and add value to their day. The problem with that philosophy is it sets you on kind of a little bit of a path of potential bad habits, because we build for ourselves and we're not thinking about the enterprise or kind of wider solutions. And it's really easy to forget that Power Automate and the rest of the Power Platform, it delivers millions of dollars of savings for hundreds of thousands of companies. It's built on top of Logic Apps, which is an enterprise tool, and it can be in all aspects an enterprise solution. We start with solutions for ourselves, but they quickly grow and we quickly do more and more. And before we know it, we're actually kind of building out these enterprise tools without necessarily thinking about enterprise in our solutions. And that means we have to look at 2 really important factors that we don't necessarily look at for personal solutions, and it's stability and scalability. We have to think about our solutions that are stable and scalable. And stable is a broad term. It might mean that our flow runs consistently, but it also means that our flow can be maintained by somebody else. It might mean that the flow doesn't impact other systems, and it might mean that it's in a way that it can be moved or changed. And scalable is also similar in that aspect. It's quite a broad term. Can it grow? Can it improve over time? Will it adapt? Will it allow more developers to build new functionality on top of that? And these are things that aren't necessarily at the forefront of our mind when we're building our first solution. We're looking at that piece of value, but they need to be in our mind if we want to move this from a personal solution to an enterprise solution. And that's the 2 things I want to talk to you about today, is how we do that. And there's two principles I work on, which is design, then build, and then we build to scale. And that's kind of the key philosophy that we separate. We shouldn't just build. We need to design first, and then we build. And when we're building, we're not just building for this particular solution for us. We're building it in a mind that it can scale and grow. And that can add over kind of like weight to our development time, but it's an investment that drives and makes the solution more enterprise ready. So how do we design to build? I generally run with 2 design stages and 2 build stages. It can sound overly convoluted, especially with how quickly you can develop, but each of these stages can add a lot of value, and they're not necessarily high amount of times. They can be small proportional bits of information that we do in the right order to add value. And they are the simple design document, which is a very small piece of work that adds a lot of value, our technical design document, and then when we go into a build, we start what we've got a scaffolding flow, and then we move to our complete flow. So we can take each of these stages throughout the process before we actually generate our end solution. So simple design document, kind of in the name, it's a simple document that helps us design, often called an SDD. And it's our high-level design plan. It's not about being detailed. It's really about understanding the broader set of the process. It sets technical scopes, so it sets understandings, and informs the developer of kind of the remit and the size of the project. It's a good planning kind of stage that prepares a lot of the work you need to do. And that's because when we move into enterprises, we suddenly lose a lot of control. When we're doing personal solutions, they're generally our connections, our access to SharePoint, our mailbox, it's all within our control. But when you start moving to enterprise, and you need to kind of start having distances, and we use things like service accounts for access, and we might need additional licenses. And these are often outside our control. So we have a thing what we call an enabler. And that's me going out and basically making sure that I'm ready to build and design. And that can be preparing, requesting access, that can be getting those licenses set up. It's all the stuff that you want to do ahead of time to make sure it doesn't basically bottleneck you at the point of development. And the simple design document is the perfect document to kind of plan out those enablers and start implementing them early on. The other good use for the simple design document is your security requirements. It's kind of a high-level conversation starter with your security. We all know the Power Platform is a really safe environment because low-code technology has that benefit. But as I shown before, there's always potential vulnerabilities, and getting your security involved has a lot of value. And your simple design document kind of gives them an area and remit to kind of overview, because often it's when you step outside the Power Platform that the security kind of risks increase. Whenever data moves and wherever you pass data between systems, that's a weakness and a potential threat point, and the SDD should demonstrate that. The other aspect is non-functional requirements. Again, very boring stuff that we don't really want to talk about, but they're key to our design. Our requirements tell you what you need to build, why, and the non-functional requirements are often the kind of those pillars underneath. And it may be things like making sure the performance is there or the pressure it applies on the network is controlled. It's the ones that can have indirect impact on your system. And the last one is that kind of code dev understanding of the process. Again, as a developer, if somebody's working on a process and I want to know what they're doing, this document gives me a real quick, fast insight into kind of the scope and how big and how complex it is. It is a really simple document, and it's a simple design. I mean, this example here just shows me that everything's within the tenant. There's no external systems. It's leveraging a couple of connections. It's relatively simple. So really nice, simple diagram lets me understand the scope of the problem. It doesn't take hours. It literally takes minutes more than anything else. A bonus thing I normally add to my SDD is what I call the simple design goal. And this is just a simple sentence or paragraph that kind of explains the goal and the piece of value of the process. There's often 10 different solutions to a problem that all solve those kind of requirements, but some of them are just more the letter of the kind of, if you think about the law, there's the letter of the law and there's a spirit of the law. You kind of have that requirement. There's some requirements that you can solve the requirement to the letter of the requirement and miss the spirit of it and what it's trying to do. And yet all those solutions, probably the equal amount of effort, but one just allows that additional understanding so the developer picks the right one that adds that kind of additional benefits that's not necessarily in the requirements. And again, it's a simple sentence, something like moving email from a mailbox that can be included in a Power BI report. I understand now that that report needs to be moved at particular times. I need to make sure it doesn't put too much data in there, it can impact the refresh rate. I need to make sure I understand maybe how much data they want to do. Might generate some extra questions. But having that little bit of extra information can really make a difference with the end solution and how much value it generates. Technical design document. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the fun. This is more at the developer level and they're going to get the benefits. It's our mid-level design plan. If you thought of your SDD as like a satellite level looking down, your technical design is your helicopter. It's a lot closer to the ground, but you still get a full view of the project with some of the detail. It plans the technical detail, the technical requirements of it. It also prepares a developer. And what I mean by that is sometimes going slow and taking a step can have so much value. And with low code being so quick and the pressure of delivery being quick, having a stage that allows you to stop, plan and think about it can be really valuable in making sure that everything's thought out and done right. There's nothing wrong with going a little bit slower. Again, we live in an AI world where we can do stuff super quick, but sometimes going quick makes you have to go slow in the long run. And what's the technical design document cover? Well, it's all about planning our connections environment variables. If you work in Power Automate, it will often create your connection references for you, or when you want to add environment variable, you try to come back, it might not appear in the drop down. It can be a real pain because you end up with duplicate connection references, or you can't find the environment variable, so you drop in a hard coded temporarily. So having these planned and built ahead of time means that when you build, you can build a lot quicker and faster. It also means that you can reuse them across different flows. And that's the other part of it. What's your component relationship? What components are you using? Are you using multiple Power Automate flows? Are you talking to an app? Are you using a Dataverse table? Are you've got choices in there or linked tables? You want to plan out those relationships so you understand how they work and interact with everybody. You also want to plan your build strategy. And this one's really quite important that we don't think about. If you think about building a house, if I built a house and then I plastered the walls and then I put my kitchen in and then I put my floor down, I'll quickly realize that actually I probably wanted to put my pipes and my electrics in before I plastered the wall. So, because I don't want to put that for my kitchen. Or maybe I want to lay the floor down so I don't have to cut around the units. So the order we build in can make the process a lot quicker and easier. The technical design document, because you planned out all the components and how their relationships, it allows you then to build what order you want to build it in. It also gives you the unified foundation, and this is something I think is really important. Is changing, if you think of a foundation, it's the hardest thing to change. It's the thing that you need to get right at the beginning. Whatever you build on top of it is also reliant on that foundation. And organizations and enterprises will generally decide what their foundation is. And your technical design document ensures that you build to that foundation. You think about how it wants to be done in a way that meets those standards. So you've got strong foundation to build on top of. And in a nutshell, if you think about it, the technical design document is your solution. You're basically planning your solution, what's going in the solution, and how it's used. And it, coupled with the solution, it means that anybody can basically look at that solution and figure out what's happening in here. So again, it's a simple document. It shows a little more detail, where those environment variables are used, where the connection references are used, what the relationships directly between flows. It's not overly complicated. A lot more work is going into the planning, and the document is just the output of it. But again, having that solution planned, and I often recommend actually building that empty solution kind of quite early before you start development, gives you that foundation to make sure you're building from a point of everything being ready, rather than kind of retrospectively trying to add things and then struggling and missing things and having inconsistencies in your final solution. So we've gone for the boring bit, the documentation, the planning, and we all want to get in and build our flows, and this is when we can start. But we don't want to kind of lose the benefits of low-code technologies. Low-code technologies are great because you can develop and build quickly. That's why we love them, and it's what's strong about them. So we don't want to kind of go all in and try and do that enterprise solution straight away. We want to start with something what I call a scaffolding flow. And what is it? Well, it's a working proof of concept. In other words, it's not a minimal viable product. It's not something that should ever go into production, but it works, and you understand that it can work, and the solution is kind of possible. But it keeps that agile, adaptive process built in. You can build quickly, you can adapt, you can change, you can basically learn as you go along. But it's built on the core foundation. Again, I always say this: you can change the building on top a lot easier than you can go back and change the foundation. Because the moment you have to change the foundation, you have to change everything above it. So the scaffolding very much means that we've got the foundation, we're strongly built, and we can build something that may not last forever, but it's got scaffolding around it, so it kind of works. And it has these kind of key benefits, like we can build quickly, we can learn, and we can adapt. We can go on tangents, and we can make kind of decisions a little bit more on the fly, because generally with automation, particularly when we're dealing with different systems, there's lots of unknowns in the process. And having this scaffolding flow allows us to kind of adapt and change and learn as we go. We build on those foundations for minimum rework. Like I say, we know that any changes we're going to make are only at the top level. They're not going to go down and cause massive breakages. And we actually don't want to be efficient yet. We just want to make it work. Being efficient often abstracts away kind of the complexity, and that's great for when we want it in production, but it's really difficult when you're trying to learn and adapt and build. An example of this could be, you might want to query just the right rows of data, but doing the development, you might want to bring them all back and drop a filter in so you can see it and validate and make sure it's working in a way. So you might add in additional actions and pull in more data just to drive that visibility. So it's wasteful, but it's really useful in the development stage. But again, we always sit on that kind of, we still work to our design principles. So we still work from things that we want that might be harder to change. And exception handling is a good idea. Again, we might not want to put the exception handling in, but we're going to plan for it. And we can design it in a way that we can add it at the later stage. So a lot of this is building in a way that we know what's coming, but we're keeping that flexibility to make sure we can actually learn as we build. and we keep those benefits of being a low-code developer. And then we kind of get onto the complete flow. And this is the bit where we take that working flow. It's slow, it's inefficient, and it's hard to maintain and hard to read, but it works. And this generally is kind of what personal solutions are like. That's what we build. We build it, it works. It's maybe a little bit slow and efficient, but it doesn't matter to us because it works, and only we maintain it and we can read it. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that and move it to a stable and scalable solution. Now, trying to do that without those previous 3 steps is so challenging. If anybody's tried to go in there and add an environment variable retrospectively, you're pulling through actions and you're searching. And likewise, if you've got multiple connection references and then you're trying to find the one that's a rogue connection reference, or you realize that you kind of wish a big chunk of the work was somewhere else, moving that and retrospectively is really painful. But because we come from a foundation and we've got ourselves in a position where the stuff that we wanted to change is kind of 80% there, the move over is a lot easier. And it's kind of the final important stage of the process. It covers kind of the simple things like naming convention. We want to make sure that everything's named in an array that's easy to read and understanding. Naming is one of the most important aspects of any solution. When we do it, it doesn't matter. My flow, I understand it doesn't make any changes. But when somebody else wants to read it, the naming convention is really important. It allows them to understand, it allows consistency. So getting a naming convention perfect is part of that last kind of side step to complete the flow. And likewise with notes. Notes are a really underutilized part of Power Platform, especially Power Automate, where we can drop in a little additional comments and actions to help anybody in the future. If you ever open up an action or part of your process and it takes you a few seconds to remember what it does, just imagine what it's like when you look back in a year's time, or just imagine what it looks like when somebody totally new comes to it. So if you ever see those little pinch points where there's a little bit of creativity or some logic that you put in for a reason, drop a note and explaining why, because people will often look at it and go, well, why have they done that? And you would understand that you figure that out doing your scaffolding flow, drop the notes in. The other thing to look at that I talked about is exception and error handling. They can be a right pain when you're doing your development because they're abstracting array information that you want. You want it to fail so you know why it fails and so you can stop it failing. But we also know that in the real world, it won't be perfect because when things scale, the inputs get bigger and they get less consistent. So we have to have that exception and an error handling built into our process, especially when we're abstracted away and it might require communication for different people or escalations. But we need to add that on at the very end, because otherwise it's going to impact our development and our learning process during the scaffolding build. The next one is future proofing. And this one is kind of a line that has to be balanced safely, because it's easy for us to deliver exactly what we need to build to requirements. And if we wanted to future proof, that could be an infinite checkbook. You could try to future proof everything is an impossible situation. But there is a sweet spot where small changes can add future proofing capabilities. And also, and we talked about kind of that simple design goal, and there's context there that you might think with that little bit of effort can help. So an example would be if you've got a process that handles 5 things, an example, and you've got it in a switch, but you know that last year it handled 3. You would think to yourself, well, can I build it in a way where I could add another 2 next year without having to redevelop it? Do I take the switch out and do like a config list with a filter? Can I build that? And likewise, if it's an email that's getting sent out, do you think, well, do I put that body as an environment variable, knowing the fact that in the future they might want to change information on that? Little bits of effort that could add a lot of value in the future just by kind of having that future-proof mentality. Again, it's not something that you want to build in your scaffolding flow because it adds complexity. You just want to get it working. But now it's working, can you go in there and give a bit of future-proofing? And the last one, and the big one, is optimization. This is the main difference between personal solutions and kind of enterprise solutions. Is the solution optimized? Is it efficient? Is it as simplified and as robust as possible? And that's a big part of completing the flow. You'll take out those unnecessary actions, you change your techniques, and maybe drop in some more advanced techniques to make it more optimized. So we've gone through the kind of pre-stages. So now we understand, like, we plan it, we build it in a certain way, but it's one thing to say we need to plan it in an efficient way or a kind of optimized way, but how do we do it? And there's certain techniques and methodology that I recommend to do this. And the key one is one I call the direct methodology. And this allows us to kind of focus on making sure that all our flows and solutions are built in the right way. And for Power Automate, they have two kind of key golden rules. We want to use less actions and have less paths. Those two key kind of targets, if we action them, it will drive our flows to the next level of kind of enterprise level. And there's the 6 kind of golden rules that I kind of look at that what we want to do. We only want to end one path. We always want to terminate and end our flow as early as possible. We want to break up large flows into child flows. We want expressions before actions. We want to limit variables and composers. And then the last one is we want to avoid high nesting levels. So what does all that mean? Well, I'll deep dive into a little bit more for you. When we generally make Power Automate flows, there's normally 3 kind of patterns that people fall into. There's obviously more, but you will generally see these 3 patterns. We have what I call a Christmas tree. And this is a process that grows horizontally. It ends in multiple different places, and it has high levels of nesting. So nesting is actions within actions. So this would have lots of conditions and loops and scopes and switches. Basically, you were creating this kind of a web of solutions. Then we have what we call a diamond. That's kind of a little bit like a Christmas tree started, but then we kind of simplified it and pulled it back in. So it does have horizontal growth, but it always ends in one position, one path. And the level of nesting is kept to minimum. This is generally done by moving actions out of containers to before and after, and being a little bit clever and simplifying the process. The diamond is the most common that you will see, and it kind of covers all possibilities. And then the last one is the one that we really want to look at, which is the direct path. And this is where we manage to take all that complexity out and make our flow into one path with one endpoint and very little, if only one level of nesting. So an example, this is an example of a Christmas tree. It's a relatively simple one. So just layer on the complexity, think about it. You can see that there's lots of nesting, and you can see how wide it's got. And you can see that in the theory there's 8 different endpoints of this, this flow. In this example, it's a bit of a silly example, but the idea here is I've gone to a restaurant. And the first question I'm going to ask is, do you want a starter? Yes or no? If I want a starter, then I'm going to give you the starter menu. And then I ask you, do you want a main? If you want a main, I give you the main. And if you want a dessert, do you want a dessert? Yes, I give you dessert. But you can see there that all the different paths, there's lots of different kind of configurations there. I could either have a starter without a main but with dessert, or no starter with a main and a dessert. There's lots of different kind of computations there. And that's why the branching logic looks complicated. And this is 3 questions. It can become wide and complicated and lots of actions. The next one is the diamond. As you can see, we've got actions at the top, we've got actions at the bottom, and then we've got a little bit of kind of complexity in the middle where we've kind of branched out and grown over the conditions. We're smart with this. Anything that doesn't need to be in that loop or in that condition, we move before and after, and we keep it relatively simple. Again, this is quite common when you get into a good level of flow development. And then the final one is this kind of holy grail, the golden one, and this is the direct path. And this is when we take away all that complexity and we end up with just one path. And this example here is the exact same example as the one before. But instead of us branching out, we basically fall back. We ask a question and then we continue. So you can see here, the first question we ask is, do you want anything? So before we would have to ask 3 questions this time and say, do you want to start a main or dessert? And if we don't, we terminate, we end the flow early. There's no point continuing it if we don't want any items. Then the next question is, do you want a starter? Yes. But in the no, we don't do anything. In the no, we just basically treat that as a null path. And then we go on to the next question, do you want a main? And then we go on to the next question, dessert. So we've basically created a really simple single path. And if you compare them together, you can see the level of complexity is massive. You know, the one on the right, you can see that we kind of cascade through different decisions. If I didn't want anything, I'd have to go through 3 conditions before it went to no, whereas the first one, it would end instantly with no other noise. And it's so much easier to read. If I was looking in the logs, I could literally flick through and see things. Well, the other one, I'll be opening up different containers and trying to scroll around the screen to find out what's going on. You also get the key parts of reusability. Problem with branching is that you end up in a situation where you can't reuse actions. So on the left-hand one, we've got one call for dessert, one call for main, and one call for starter. Whereas on the Christmas tree, we've got one for starter, but we've got 2 for main and 4 for dessert. So we're having to duplicate that action 4 times just by the way we've done it. Now, again, this is a kind of a simple example, but if that was 5 or 6 actions or the slight variance in conditions, it becomes a lot harder to maintain. It's quite possible that one of them will have a slight variance or a missed update, and then you end up with kind of a lot of pain. And so the more that we can move from this kind of branching out and nested approach and get into kind of a single path, makes your life so much easier to maintain and develop. Terminate early, a kind of obvious one here, but the big one we looked at is saving API calls, and this is a big part of optimization. And a lot of developers are like, well, I don't really care. Why does it matter how many API calls? But there's a couple of good reasons. The first one is actually your flow and automations. As a standard user at the moment, you get 6,000 API calls. And everything in a flow is an API call. Every variable set, every condition, every item in a loop is a variable. And you can think, well, I don't do that many. But all it takes is one loop for you to burn through a lot. If you had an item where you pulled 1,000 items and you wanted to write it into Excel and you were using the add to row, in theory, you can only do 6 things to that item before you did it. So your flow would only, inside that loop, could only have 6 items because 6 times 1,000 takes you to the limit. Then you stack on the fact that you might have a couple of flows running, and maybe one flow runs a lot one day and it breaks the other, and you're like, well, why did that break? And you're trying to identify a pattern and understanding because it's an inconsistent. It makes life really harder. So we really want to keep those API calls to a minimum. The other one is the environment. We all want to save energy. We all want to look at kind of lowering our carbon footprint, and every API call is using electricity and energy. So we want to be efficient. We want to make sure that we're not being wasteful. And the other aspect of that is simplified logs. The more information you push into the system, the more data you have to kind of look through, the harder it is. And if any of you looked at a run history where there's lots of columns in there or application insights and there's lots of additional information, pulling out as much as you can and making the process end early makes it so much easier to read. And how do we do it? Trigger conditions are gold. There's something that we should be using all the time. To see a flow run and then it be like a condition to stop is a no-no. We really want to make sure that if it doesn't need to run, we don't. It stops your run logs being polluted with hundreds of runs and you're trying to find the one that works. And again, it saves API calls. And the other one is to use what I call an escape condition. An escape condition is a cool little functionality. It's basically what we call a guard condition in Pro code. And it's a one-sided condition that ends the process rather than continues. One-sided conditions are really powerful. It's something you should use, and it's very much using the direct methodology, trying to make sure that you keep everything in one path. But we can also use it to end the process earlier. So in the example here, you can see we've got a condition and all our logic's in the yes and nothing in no. And maybe there's like another condition below and another condition below. What we really want to do is take that logic out at the very beginning or at any point in the process. And we drop in a terminate. That condition could be like, have I met the minimum threshold, just end. Don't just continue down a path that leads to null. You just want to get out and end the process as early as possible. Again, it takes our API calls, makes our logs easier to read. Break up large flows into child flows. Everybody knows about child flows, but it's often hard to implement, and it can be implemented quite badly and make processes hard. But there is real good reasons to use it. A big one is reusability. Power Automate is linear. You go down, you don't ever go back up. So having blocks of code that maybe you want to run at the top or the bottom, you basically have to duplicate that. Whereas if you can pull out a child flow, you can have that same piece of code in one place. And again, like on the Christmas tree, I don't want to be updating it in 2 places because it's quite possible I'll update one a little bit wrong or miss it. It becomes hard to maintain. It also means I can scale it and use it in other flows or other times. So pulling out a flow gives you that massive usability benefit. The other one is creating unit testing opportunities. Testing is awful. We all hate testing, but Power Automate is particularly not fun to test. We've got the kind of test action on actions, but a lot of time we have to reset things outside the platform, and dealing with loops is horrible because it has to go through all iterations, even if it fails after the first one. And if we end it early, we lose that. So having child flows means that we can break down and test just that specific part of the process that we want. We can control the inputs, we control the outputs, and we can test it really easy. And you think about that loop situation. If you took the data out and put it in a flow, when it's looping over, you can go and look at that child flows run logs and identify and end the process early. So having that clear break is really nice for testing. And it kind of links into what I call ring fencing updates. If I change something in a big flow, it is quite possible that there might be an unexpected change further down that I've not planned, because they kind of interact in that web of solutions where you pull one string and it pulls a string that you don't see. But if you have child flows, you basically ring fence and airlock those two separate solutions. So no change in one can impact another. And it means that when you go to testing, again, it's so much easier because you know that that change will not impact another flow. And that's the exact reason why it's a lot easier to debug as well. Because instead of me looking for an entire process and looking for 1,000 loops, I can target that one particular action or that small set of actions, identify the problem. It's really beneficial to have that strategy. But again, it's something that needs to be a bit of a skill. We can't just put everything into child flows because then it becomes harder to build and maintain. It's a sweet spot. And what you want to be looking for is anything that looks like a function in your flow. 4 or 5 actions together, do a particular thing and output. Kind of, you think, well, that's a piece of value in its own. Sometimes you put it in a scope, but what you might want to do is put it in a child flow. And likewise, if you see blocks of code reused in different branches or different parts of the flow, that's a straight away call that should be a child flow, because you don't want to be maintaining different parts of code that do the same thing, because you'll always end up with slight variances at one point. That's a nightmare to debug. Expressions before actions. People get into Power Automate because they love UI. They don't want to be a coder. They want to just use the mouse and click and drag. And that means sometimes they don't leverage the power of the expressions. Expressions are really useful, and they're more like Excel. And I say to you, you won't want to use Excel without a good formula. So leveraging expressions is really important. And what you find is they can take away so much complexity and so much of your process to make it simple. Again, it saves API calls. If you're calling an action to do something, you can do it in an expression. It means that you don't have to send that information to another API. It speeds up your flows, and it makes your flows more consistent. Because you're calling an API, you basically are at the whim of the network at the time. I've seen a variable set take a millisecond. I've also seen a variable set take 2 seconds, just because at that particular time, the network was busy and it was routed to another server far away. So those API calls can drive in inconsistency and make your process slower, where expression runs at the same speed consistently. And again, it simplifies your logs, taking actions out, making the process, all the information smaller and easier to work through. And how do you get there? Well, the big one, and it's the most common one I see, is use that if expression instead of a condition. Conditions are so all over your flow, but you need to look at them and go, well, can I get away with it? If I'm setting a chunk of action, then yeah, absolutely use a condition. But if I'm setting a value, then why am I doing that? A good example you might see, I've seen before, where the condition is, if this, send the email to David with this subject. And if it's this, send it to Laura with the different subject. Now, the 2 actions are very similar and they have a lot of overlap, but now we've got it in 2 places. But what we could have done is just done the if expression in the to and the if expression in the subject. But again, we kind of simplify the process, we keep it narrow, and we're saving API calls. And we only have one thing to update. Use filter queries instead of filters. And this is a big one again. And this often falls back to development, where I talked about where people want to see all the data. So they'll bring all the items in. And nearly every get items action will have a query. But what people do is they'll bring all the items in and then run a filter and then they'll loop over the filters. But actually, we should be just doing it in the get items. So if you ever see a get items in a filter straight after, 9 times out of 10, you don't need that. And the last one is we want to be using what we call string manipulation. And this is a really cool functionality that not many people use. And it works around the fact that Power Platform and Power Automate in particular runs on JSON. And JSON is text. So what we're doing is we're taking these items and we treat them like items. But what we could do is treat them like text. So in this example, I've got an array with the names, and I want to swap out everything from David to Dave. Okay, silly example, I know, but If this was a little more complex, you generally would loop over each item, or you do some filtering and you append to an array and you do things like that. But what we could do is just turn it into a string, use the replace function to swap David for Dave, and then turn it back into a JSON. And again, this is a really kind of simplified, but if you take that understanding that we don't need to treat an array like an array, we can treat it like text, and it allows us to do some quite cool things. And just a little bit more of an example in a minute. Limit variables and composers. Anybody who works with me knows that these are one of my big bugbearers. Everything in the Power Automate is global. It's one of the best things about it, but it's something that people don't identify. And that's because a lot of other systems, you have to store your data. Any data that comes in, you store it somewhere. And that's the same for like Procode, you know, put in data, you put in a variable. But you don't need to in Power Automate because everything's a global variable. So everything that comes in is accessible all the way below it. If you have a get items at the top, you can use a get items at the bottom. You can still reference it. You don't need to store it anywhere. The only time you should store in a variable is if it's going to vary. And again, you've seen like the if condition, because everything's global, quite often, if you can move that logic down to the point in need, you don't even need to store it there. So variables should be used very rarely. If you see a lot of variables, when you open up a flow, it's generally a bit of a warning sign. Same with composers. The thing about composers, it has the same input as output. And what I mean by that is, whatever you put into a compose, you can put into where you output it. So if I had an expression, again, really simplified, but if this sent to David's email out Laura's email, you would, and I've seen that in a compose, and then that compose is put in the to. The question is, why do you take that expression in the compose and put it where you put the output in? And that's what you can do with everything that goes into compose. 99 times 100, you can just copy it out where the input and put it where you've referenced it. There is exceptions, of course. Composers are great for unifying, and they're also good for self-referencing variables. But again, these are rare occasions, so you shouldn't see them unless you're using it for development, which again is useful in that scaffolding flow. You want it to kind of see stuff, but that needs to come out at the point of reference. Why are you debugging something and doing an API call in production when nobody's looking at it? And what you should do for every variable and every compose, you should ask the question, what value does it add? What does it do? And if you're struggling to articulate why it's there, then just take it out. The last one is avoid high-level nesting. And this is the one that is kind of complicated, and it's easy to fall into this trap. Whenever we do things like conditions and loops and switches and things like that, we create a container, and that's where we nest, so actions within actions. And because Power Platform often creates them for you automatically, and it's quite nice, and you can get zoomed in, you can lose that. It makes it you kind of not realize how deep you're in there. But just like looking for files in folders, it's really hard to use when you're looking at it externally, when you're trying to debug it. It can clog up the UI as well, especially the classic UI could get really kind of slow and clunky. On top of that, each of those containers are actually API calls. So again, we're kind of wasting things. So we want to avoid as much nesting as possible. It is necessary, but not all the time. There's a couple of techniques that we can use. A good one is use hidden arrays and string manipulation instead of loops, and we can use concurrent conditions. So what are they? Well, inside an array, Microsoft hides things from you. So an example here on the compose at the bottom, if I try to reference the get items or select, it won't show it in the drop-down list. It will say I can't select it. But if I type it in, it's there and it returns value. But what it actually does is it returns an array. So it returns all of those instances in that loop. So if it was just a compose, it would have an array of those compose outputs. And in this case, the example, because I'm referencing the select, it's actually an array of an arrays. So this demo is basically grabbing a list of those items depending on the item as a condition. And then what I want to do is stack them all up into one array. But the output I get is, as you can see on the top left, an array of arrays. And I don't want that. I want the bottom. I want a flat, just one list. Now, the only way you can really do that is by looping over the loop. So you loop over each item, then you loop over each item and append it to an array. And loops within loops is just dangerous for burning through API calls. If you had 1,000 items in that, you could easily get 1,000 times 1,000, you're hitting like a million API calls. So loops within loops are dangerous. But what we can use is string manipulation to take that array of arrays and turn it into a flat array. And again, I'll show you here. Looks scary, but it's relatively simple. And this is kind of extreme event. And you can see what we're doing is we are basically taking that array and turning it into a string. And then we're doing some replacing parts of it, the body to replace, and we're doing the substring. So we want to chop off the beginning and chop off the end. Then we do a bit more length measurement. And at the end of it, we turn it back into JSON. So that takes that process, cuts off these and cuts off the body and turns it into that. And again, that's one action using an expression rather than using an action, which could be thousands of API calls. And then the last one to look at is concurrent conditions. And this is the one where you look at it, it makes so much sense to do it the way you're doing it. But then when you look at another way, it makes so much more sense. And in this example, I've got 1,000 items and I want to check it. And if it's a pass, I do one thing. And if it fails, I do another. And in this example, there's only one item in that, just to keep it simple. So 500 pass, 500 fail. I'm in the loop. I handle each of them. That's 1,000 things. But because I've got the condition into the loop, that condition gets run 1,000 times. So this flow now runs 2,000 API calls and one at the beginning. So 2,001 API calls, because for each item, it does the check and it does the action. So that's 2,000. But if we approach it differently and we went with concurrent conditions, where we get all the items that pass and loop over them, and we get all the items that fail and loop over them, even though this looks like more actions and more complicated, we've actually halved the amount of API calls. Because now the loop is 500 plus the get items. That's 501. The next one is 500 plus the get items one. So that's 1,002 API calls. Now, again, it's a simple solution. And if you've got 10 items in there, the difference is smaller. But it still shows that by reorganizing it, you can limit what actions are in your loop. And more importantly, this is so much easier to read. If I was looking for the 10th pass or the 15th fail, I would have to go through all 100, trying to count, trying to figure that out. But now I can just go to the pass and find it. If I want to know how many passed, I know how many passed. If I want to do anything with those data, it's so much simpler. And if we did this in the real world, if I was going to sort them out, I would sort all the pass into one pile and all the fell into another pile, and then I would go through and do it because it's more efficient and more logical. So again, yeah, you look at this, it's so much more logical and makes sense, but we don't build in that way. So we need to look at kind of, can we do what we call concurrent conditions? Looking at the timing, it's good time. I'm just coming to the end. So a quick overview, we really need to look at, we design and build, make sure you take the design step. Going a little bit slower and a bit of preparation can make all the difference. And then we build to scale. We build in the way that we think ahead, and we think beyond just our personal solutions. Because if we don't, we can end up with some quite creative solutions that look like they do the point. But without planning, it's easy to end up with something that clearly looks wrong, but at the time, it didn't look wrong. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, David. So, I have a question. If I see this rules and guidelines, what about secure inputs and outputs? Because we're working every day a little bit more with logic as with Power Automate, but I think this topic is something what you need to go on with, for example, with Key Vault, with an app registration. So if you to handle something with AppReg, is it something what you need to add on the enterprise stack, or is it a different part?
Oh, absolutely. And that goes into, that will be one of your non-functional requirements. So during that stage, when you looked at your NFRs, one of that would be, listen, we want to make sure that we have secure inputs today. That's a really good example of something that you might not put that in a requirement, but it's a non-functional requirement that's needed. And likewise, during that build process, you might not necessarily want to do secure inputs during the scaffolding build because you need to see what's coming in and why it's working. But during that complete phase is when you go in and add those secure inputs to make sure it's valid. It's a really good call, and it's something that more and more you should be looking at because this data flows throughout the platform.
And it changed. So many things are changed in the last year, I think, regarding to managed identity and to other topics. And some things are working. So we found this out at the work, but some things are working with managed identity very well, and some APIs not really working with managed identity. And I think as you see, it's like a guideline what you need to build, what you need to have, and if I love this the slide deck. Yeah, you must share this in the speaker notes. I think it's really good. But I think every developer or company who develops need to build their own regarding to their problems. I think Matthew Devaney has created for 2 or 3 years ago something like this, but in other with other topics on it. But I totally appreciate it. Really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
For our next guest is Simon Owen at 4 p.m. With a topic defining your roadmap to functional value from AI business solution. Yeah, and David, nice to be here. I hope we see us in this year again in the show or somewhere else. Has ever been I really like your Power Automate sessions. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.